Hey, what's up, YouTube? Thanks for joining me on Half-Handed Flavor, Episode 1. Today we're making bread. To start with, use a scale. You can't be as exact measuring with a cup versus a scale. Moving on. Starting out, we're using 250 grams whole wheat flour, 850 grams bread flour, 3 teaspoons of salt per mixture, a quarter cup of sugar per mixture, half a cup of basil, 2 pinches of thyme, a few pinches of rosemary, and about half a cup of garlic powder for the left-handed mixture, about 1 cup of seeds for the middle-handed mixture, and about 2 cups of cinnamon for the right-handed mixture. For the cinnamon mixture, you will need to activate your yeast. Because I am freezing some of these doughs, I'm using 6 teaspoons of yeast to 800 milliliters of water. If you are not freezing the bread and you are making all of the dough straight away, you can get away with using 3 teaspoons of yeast and still keep to the 800 milliliters of water. You also want to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil per mixture. And then you want to add your water after assembling all of your dry ingredients. Give that a mix. For the cinnamon loaf, you want to activate the yeast beforehand. Give that a little pinch of the sugar you would have put into the dry mix into your measuring cup. Give it a quick mix. Wait a minute for the yeast to bubble up, and it's good to go. Assembling all of the ingredients into the bowl, give it a mix until it gets really tough to stir, and it starts to form a shaggy mass of dough. Emptying out the contents of the bowl onto your work surface, you shouldn't really have to add any extra flour to the mixture, but sometimes if the dough is still sticky, you're gonna have to add flour. I like to add flour that is used in the bowl first before I add more flour, but to each their own. You want to give this a good knead for about 5 to 10 minutes or until it starts to real come together and just be a more cohesive ball of dough versus what you emptied out of the bowl. When it comes to kneading, everybody has a different technique. So you could spin it, do a heart shape with it, move it around. The essential theory is that you're just stretching out the strands of gluten within it. As long as you're doing that, whatever that looks like, it really can be in any shape or what have you. Alright, so once you're done kneading the dough, you're going to want to put a couple of teaspoons of oil into the bowl that you were mixing in and put the dough into the bowl, give it a little shake-a-shake-a, just so the whole bowl of dough is completely covered with the oil. Give the bowl a little bit of a cover with some cling wrap and a towel just to help keep any heat in or any light out. Now, when using your loaf pans, you can grease it with cooking spray or you can use butter. I'm using butter right here because I didn't have any cooking spray. But you want to just cover the bottom surface area and a little bit of the edge. After you proof the bread for the first time for 45 minutes to an hour, you take it out, put it onto your work surface, take it out of the bowl, deflate it a little bit, put it onto your work surface, and you can separate it into 4 decent sized loaves. The 3 you see I'm putting off to the side get frozen while the ones I'm using for the video get put into the loaf pans and topped with an additional, the garlic loaf gets a little bit of shredded Parmesan cheese, the cinnamon loaf gets a little pinch of cinnamon on top, and the seeded loaf gets an added coating of sesame seeds and poppy seeds. Cover the loaf pans with cling wrap, let them proof for about another 45 minutes while you preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and place them inside it for about 30 to 35 minutes. If you're doing the frozen doughs, you're going to want to go 375 degrees Fahrenheit and cook it for about 40 to 45 minutes. Once the doughs come out of the oven, the bread comes out of the oven, I like to give it a little touch of butter on the top. It helps to add a little bit of moisture. It helps to add a little bit of moistness to the top layer of the crust. and it tastes delicious. I don't do that with the seeded though, and I do it even less with the garlic one. But you don't want to do too much butter because it will mess with the bread if you do too much. On a final note, I cannot stress to you the importance of knife safety. Say it with me, knife safety. Be very careful with knives because you can remove a finger if you are not careful. I remember this one time. And there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching episode 1 of Half Handed Flavor. See you next week when we talk pizzas.